Hello, welcome to Rough Cut Film Review. This is a review of the M. Night Shyamalan film, The Devil. So this was on film 4. I've never seen it before. A couple of his films were quite good, so I thought I'd watch it, and then after watching it I thought I'd review it, so here we are. That's exciting. So M. Night Shyamalan. So he's the guy that came up with The Sixth Sense, and the problem with having a runaway success based on your first film is that if it's got a twist, there's a real temptation for the director or the filmmaker to assume that everyone wants to see a twist in every single film, and that's why people watch films. But unfortunately, it's nice as a bit of surprise every now and again. If every film was trying to be The Usual Suspects, it would lose all impact, it wouldn't be fun, it wouldn't be clever, and we wouldn't enjoy it. So if you make every single film, there absolutely has to be a twist in there somewhere, you're going to be in trouble. I didn't think they'd all been terrible. I mean, I remember seeing The Village many years ago. I thought that was fine. But there have been some real stinkers, and most notably, I actually went to see the new Will Smith blockbuster, which is him with his son, After Earth, something like that. I very much suspect I'm not even going to bother reviewing it because it was just boring and awful, and these reviews are fun to do if the film is good or if it's a stinker, whereas that was just depressingly bad. So instead I've got a review of The Devil. Actually, I think it's called Devil, not The Devil, but it's one of those films where I'm not even bothering to check on IMDB for quality purposes. So the title is Devil. In the opening credits they talk about the devil walking among us. We then get a sweeping camera shot of Philadelphia, which would look absolutely fine except that the camera's upside down. I guess it's to emphasise that they're coming up from hell, upside down crucifix, all that kind of thing. However, it just looks wrong and irritating, and it just makes me want to slap the director. We're also told in the opening credits by the narrator, who turns out to be sort of the sidekick security guard. He's a Mexican stereotype, God-fearing type chap, and he sort of says, "When I was a kid, my mum always told me that the devil walks amongst us, but I'm not sure about that. Do you think the devil walks about amongst us? Or I wonder if we'll see that in the film." And then we do, of course. We're then told that we need a suicide to allow the devil to come into the world. For some reason, it's just an excuse to have an early death. So straight away, a bloke jumps off a building and there's a suicide. We don't get any real explanation for why the person may have jumped off this high-rise building. They've just done it. We start off, we've got a cop who's got AA sponsors. He's been thinking about suicide, I think. He's been clean for a while, though. He's been drinking. His sponsor says to him, his AA sponsor says, "You need God in your life." And he says, "I can't have God because my family died. They died tragically in a tragic road accident, which we'll never hear anything about ever again." So after all this excitement, we then get, within 5 seconds, 5 people in a lift. They all get into the same lift in a high-rise building in Philadelphia. The lift gets stuck, and it's very obvious that one of them is the devil, walking amongst us. And if you're paying any kind of attention or you've seen a horror film before, it's pretty easy to guess which one it is. It goes without saying that the alcoholic anonymous cop guy with no personality but with a dead family is put in charge of the case of the people stuck in the lift. So obviously he's flown incredibly high despite his alcoholism. And so we have a twist in the film, and within the first 10 minutes we already know what the twist is. The film's called Devil. One of them in the lift is probably the devil, and we almost certainly know which one it is if we're paying any kind of attention, which, in all fairness, is quite difficult. So the problem here really is it's such poor filmmaking. It's so tired, it's so generic, it's so by the numbers. I very much suspect that if I were to see an interview with M. Night Shyamalan, he would be very defensive of this film, and he'd probably put up a good argument for why this exists, why it's interesting. But it's not interesting. It's a very, very dull version of something I've seen 100 times before. Think Angel Heart, but with none of the flair, none of the interest, far more televisual, and just very, very, very dull. I do like the idea here. I like the idea of the devil. I like the idea of people being stuck in the lift. I like the idea of secrets being exposed between these people, them sharing things that they don't want to share. You wouldn't necessarily share with strangers. And it might actually turn out like a play, so something along the line of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, but with the devil, but something very, very character-driven, where this extreme situation forces these people to open up to each other in a way you wouldn't necessarily expect. We get big secrets, that kind of thing. However, none of this happens. It's really, really boring. There is a fatal inability to ratchet any kind of tension up, and you care very little for the characters. partly due to the poor pacing of the film and the direction, but partly due to the fact that the characters are so forgettable and so unlikable, deliberately so. For example, one of them is an arrogant mattress salesman. I didn't even know there was an arrogant mattress salesman, but apparently there is. He's in an expensive suit and tie, okay, but why is he a mattress salesman? Why didn't they just say, okay, he can be a broker or something? I don't know, something where you could anticipate them to be wearing an expensive suit and acting really arrogantly. Don't get that. It's almost as if the people that wrote this film had, they all got into, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them had got into a meeting room and they'd gone, right, well, look, if we just make him a mattress salesman, for example, we can all just have a longer lunch break. I might just go into the gents with my jacket and use it as a pillow and just have a bit of a snooze. You can go down to the pub and get drunk, and we can all meet back in 4 hours' time and think of the next one and what their job might be and why they're there. No one cares. Really, really boring. The Mexican-esque security guard, pretty much, who's the narrator, pretty much comes to the conclusion that, I think one of them might be the devil, before we've got any reason to think such a thing might be the case. We just have scenes where the detective goes, I don't understand, and the Mexican guy goes, it's the devil, and he goes, I don't believe in devils, good lord, that seems unlikely. And then 20 minutes later, so this devil bloke, what do you know about him? The plot makes no sense. Clues that are found leads the characters to jump to ridiculous conclusions which turn out to be correct, but they have no way of making the links or ascertaining that may be the case. It's just such a jumbled mess of plot contrivances, and the script is awful. I know the filmmakers of Indian origin. The only reason I broach this really is because, and maybe I'm underestimating directors and writers, but if I was going to make a story about Catholic themes, I wouldn't do it myself because I'm not a Catholic. So I think it's very difficult as an outsider to look at those themes and make a good fist of it, and I think he's done a very poor job. I don't know how much research he's done, but it doesn't seem to be good enough. And generally speaking, actually, films about the devil or the son of the devil generally absolutely terrify me. So I'm thinking The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, absolute classics, but this one's absolute rubbish. Yeah, I mean, you just sort of think, well, it's all well and good, the devil going around claiming souls, but if God's so brilliant, where is he during all of this? Because we don't see any of him. We probably could have done with a bonkers priest played by Max von Sydow or something going, evil, evil. That would have made it a bit more spicy, and then probably get eaten by a devil hound or something, but it doesn't happen. I think what M. Night Shyamalan really needed to do after making films like The Lady in the Water was to step away from thrillers, chillers and things with twists, and just show the world he is capable of making a competent nuts and bolts film. I don't know, maybe a comedy, who knows, something a bit different, but unfortunately all he's been doing is circling the drain in ever smaller circles. I'm sure some people will still defend his filmmaking and say it's really interesting and exciting. Not for me, I'm afraid. And that's pretty much what I have to say about that. Kind regards, Christopher Thomas.